Good morning, beloveds. I'm not sure I'm awake. Yesterday was the rest day, but today, when the alarms went off, it was raining, and so we looked at the radar, and it was a pretty big storm, and so I was like, "All right," and we made the decision to go back to sleep. So I did go back to sleep, and I woke up at. See, I told you, 7:30, and thought, okay, I can get up now. But the cat was stretched across the chest, so I was like, And then I guess I fell back asleep, and I kept, in my dreams, people kept asking me questions, and I'm like, why are you guys asking me all these questions? I don't know. I was like, so the next time I woke up, I was like, I'm just getting up now. I'm tired of being asked questions. So, oh, wow. Yeah, I don't know. And it's a nice enough, like, it's slightly, it's only a little bit warmer in the house than it is outside. So I've got the windows open. Gonna enjoy the day. All right. It is February 10th. Yeah, it's February 10th and I have the windows open. Our title is I Am Spiritual Energy. Our author is Judith G. Weeks. This was published in Daily Inspiration from 2015 for a Universal Foundation for Better Living. All right. Today is a nice day for me. I accept and use spiritual energy to go into God's house, the house of all good. The prodigal son used his spiritual energy to return to his father's house. I have the same energy of spirit. Therefore, I recognize that I am meant to use it to have a healthy, wealthy, and harmonious life. God has given me energy plus the love and wisdom to use it. I am empowered by the Spirit of God in me, my Christ self, to rise above every undesirable circumstance. In divine order, I express a new experience today. As I live in the understanding that I am using spiritual energy to move out of the problems and into God's house of fulfillment and joy. I use my spiritual energy to activate the love of God and achieve loving relationships. And she ends with the quote, I will arise and go to my Father. Luke 15:15. Okay. Occasionally I make a very, you can tell that I was raised in the country, analogy. And not everybody has the same experience, but most children do have well, I don't know about anymore, but when I was growing up, even if you just lived in a house, so this does leave out anybody living in an apartment. We all have experiences with garden hoses. I grew up drinking out of garden hoses when it was really hot. And you never wanted the first sip because if the garden hose had been laying in the sun, it was hot. So you didn't want the first sip. You wanted to let the water run for a minute. But we all have that experience of, especially if we have siblings, because I have a younger brother. So we all have that experience of the sibling is doing something with the hose, then we'll step on the hose. And then the sibling will put the hose up to their face because they're like, why is the water not flowing? And then you let go. And, then they get squirted in the face. Or if you're trying to do something and you don't want to go turn the hose off, so then you just kink the hose. You just, put a bend in the hose that stops the water from flowing through. Or you do it on purpose, again, to get the sibling. Or your parents, because I think I've done it to my father at least once. I will tell you that my mother started one of the best water fights ever at a family reunion by throwing water from a water fountain in my face. And then I went and got a cup of water and threw water at her. And by the time we left, everybody was soaked except for the great-grandmothers. We did not go after, if you had a grand in front of your name, we did not. We didn't go after grandma or great-grandma. Everybody else was fair game. So, just a random memory there. But in, so that is an analogy, that hose analogy that I use. So I apologize to anybody who grew up in an apartment who has no experience with garden hoses. It's definitely something it's a treasured memory because it's fun, but it's also a really good analogy when we're talking about spiritual energy. Because the truth is that the hose between you and spirit is always connected, and the energy is always flowing. And the only way to turn it off, well, God's got that, and God's not ever going to turn it off. Okay. So let's just establish that, right? So we have the other end of the hose, which means the only way to stop the flow of spiritual energy is to step on the hose, is to kink that hose. Well, the truth is nobody knows where your hose is. That hose is between you and God. Nobody else has access to that hose. So the only person who can kink that hose or step on that hose is you. You are the only person who can stop the flow of that God energy, that divine energy into your life. You are the only person who can do that. So I use that analogy. It's like, get off your hose, or stop kinking your hose, or unkink your hose. However, I will say that other people can say things that will cause us to kink our hose. So I'm not saying, I'm telling you that nobody else can kink your hose, but people can say things that will cause you to kink your hose. So sometimes if you're not feeling that divine energy, you want to go back and look where that kink is in your hose. Is it something that somebody said to you? Simply, and I say that because I've got several friends who are actors, and I was reading a post that one of them made about inclusivity. How, on one side of the table, everybody's, they're taught about how theater is inclusive. And then one day they were working the other side and they were like, oh, it's not as inclusive as I thought it was. And so, because they heard what they actually heard a producer say was, well, he's not as pretty as his voice is, and it's just never going to work. And so now he hears that phrase, the person making the post hears that phrase every time he looks in the mirror. And I'm like, that's you kinking your own hose because you are believing something that somebody else said. Okay. And so it's a good idea to go back and look for those things. And frequently those things are buried so deep in our subconscious, we're not even aware of them. So we're kinking our own hose based on something that somebody said that may not even had anything to do with us, but we heard it. That phrase that your parent might have said once to you, and you tucked that back in your, subconscious and have been running on it ever since. And that's one of the reasons why the prodigal son is such a good story. She just briefly mentions it, but that's one of the reasons why the prodigal son is such a good story. And it's a good story for two reasons. Okay. For both sons, because the one son says, give me my inheritance, let me go off and do whatever. And then he goes off and does whatever, loses all his money. And then he's eating what he's feeding the pigs because he's so hungry. And he's like, you know what? The servants are treated better in my father's house. Let me go back and serve in my father's house. And he goes back to his father, and his father's like super excited to see him. He's like, oh my God, I'm so happy to see you. Let's have a ginormous party. We'll kill the fatted calf. He welcomes him back as if he had never been gone, and that's, and so why that story is important. It's like, well, if you have created the illusion of separation from God. So when you destroy that illusion, you come back to the fullness of God. God's thrilled to have you back. God's like, well, I've missed you, I'm very happy to have you back in the fullness of my grace. But then let's talk about the other son who didn't go anywhere, who has continued to manage the farm or whatever it is. And he's like, well, but you never threw a party for me. To which the father turns and says, everything that I have is yours. You didn't have to leave me to come back for me to throw you a party. All you had to do was ask. Okay? I am spiritual energy, right? The energy is always there. The energy is always flowing. What we've got to do is figure out how we are getting in our own way. And it can be one of two things, or it can be either one of the prodigal sons, you know. It can be that we're afraid that we have created the illusion of separation. And why? Why have we created that illusion of separation? And frequently we create that illusion of separation because we have been told that we are separate from God. We have been told, and we've been told that we're not worthy of God, which God has never believed that. So we can go back in and we can look, okay, well, what have people told me that I have subconsciously accepted? You know? And that's why I said, nobody can step on your hose, but they can say things that will cause you to unconsciously step on your hose. Okay? So go back and look and say, where is this coming from? Or perhaps we are the other son, the son who never left, and we just have never asked. And that's the amazing thing about Spirit. Spirit always says yes. Spirit doesn't judge. So if we ask for things that are in alignment with Spirit, then Spirit will say yes. And as I've heard more than once, you know, it's like, if you believe in lack, then Spirit will give you an abundance of lack. So that's why it's important for us to go back and do our spiritual work. It is extremely important that we go back and do our spiritual work so that we don't have other people's opinions in our heads causing us to step on our own hose. Okay? I'm very animated and the cat is like, she's desperate for attention. Okay, let me think about this. I want to make sure that I have covered my bases. Yeah, I have the same spiritual energy. Therefore, I recognize that I am meant to use it to have a healthy, wealthy, and harmonious life. Okay, so, and exactly, what is it that we are meant to do with our spiritual energy? Well, to have a healthy, wealthy, and harmonious life. Okay? What does healthy look like for you? What does wealthy look like for you? What does harmonious look like for you? Because it's not everybody's definition. You get to choose what those definitions are. So, and I do like that she says I'm empowered. Okay, so God has given me the energy plus the love and wisdom to use it. I am empowered by the Spirit of God in me, my Christ self, to rise above every undesirable circumstances. So, in divine order, I express a new experience today as I live in the understanding that I am using spiritual energy to move out of problems and into God's house of fulfillment and joy. So, I would tell you that the mission today, should we choose to accept it, is to express a new experience today. To express a new experience today. What does that look like for you? What will you use your spiritual energy today to express? What is it that what is it that you want? And a small start is still a start. You know, 1 foot in front. Forward motion is forward motion, no matter how slow or how, where it is. So that's the mission today. Should we choose to accept it? To use that spiritual energy that we have divine access to because we come pre-installed with that Christ self, to create a new experience today, to express a new experience today. All right. So that is the mission today. The other mission is the same mission I give you every day: to do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself, whatever that looks like for you today. Occasionally what it looks like is turning the alarm off and going back to the bed. Sometimes what it looks like is opening the windows and enjoying the outside. Other times it looks like today's Catterday. I expect to spend a fair amount of time pinned underneath 1 to 3 cats. I thoroughly enjoy having them. That's what I love about Saturday. That's what I love, because Saturday is my day to spend curled up on the couch doing whatever it is that I'm going to do, be it read, be it watch TV. I love the History Channel. Be it, I might do some other random things, but if I'm on the couch, I can guarantee you I will have at least one cat sitting in my lap. And that's what Saturdays are for. That's why we call them Catterdays. You gotta love cat people. We have days for we have funny words for everything. Look up feline paralysis. It's when you're sitting there, you have a cat in your lap, so you can't move. You're literally paralyzed because you don't want to disturb the cat. And yes, we do spell it Purr, and then the rest of the word. And that's what loving, kind, and compassionate looks like. It's a reminder that we are human beings, not human doings, and we are allowed to rest. Okay. So, loving, kind, and compassionate. My big one with love, kindness, and compassion is to take a deep breath, to respond rather than react. And it's super important. I want to remind you that your reaction is generally who you have been taught, is what you've been taught. Your response is who you really are. Okay? Give yourself the chance to prove who you really are. Give yourself the chance to respond instead of react. All right? Take that deep breath. And I want you to practice love, kindness, and compassion on yourself, because you are your own best test subject. But the most important reason is you deserve your own love. You deserve your own kindness. You deserve your own compassion. And the end goal is to make sure that everything you do is loving, kind, and compassionate. Okay. A couple of other suggestions. Take a walk, take a nap, take a break. Okay. And I mean them literally and metaphorically. Okay. You're never going to get one level with us. Not from Creative Life. Jessie is all about the metaphors. Okay. I mean, when I say take a walk, I mean literally go for a walk. Get your body moving, get your blood moving, get your oxygen pumping. But I also mean sometimes you just need to walk away from the situation. So, metaphorically, literally. I want to remind you, I like to say a loving, kind, and compassionate thing you can do is to eat dessert first. Sometimes you just need to bring your blood sugar up and then you can make a good decision, right? But it also means to me, don't save the good stuff. In our Friday group, we talked about loss, and it was interesting to have us, there as a group talking about, the losses that we've had in our life and how they've affected us and all of that, so, it's a good, and sometimes that is the most loving, kind, and compassionate thing you can do for yourself, so that's why I say eat dessert first. Don't save the good stuff. We spent that time talking about loss. That's why I say don't wait for a special occasion. Make the occasion special. Don't save the good stuff. All right. The last, where was I? Hang on. Let me rewind. Rewind. What was I saying? Joy. Joy. We talk about the qualities of God a lot. Well, joy is a quality of God. Therefore, joy is a quality of you. What I want to remind you is because the world, if you watch the news, the world looks crazy. Now, notice how I said, if you watch the news, the world looks crazy. All right. When you walk out your door into your neighborhood, the world probably looks pretty normal, which is why I watch the news as little as possible. Like, I'll turn it on. I know approximately when the weather will be on, and that is information I need. So I'll turn it on for that. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm out. Joy is a quality of the God. Joy is a quality of you. No matter what is going on in the world, no matter what is going on in your life, you still deserve joy. Please make room for it. Please make room for it. In my world, one of the ways that I make room for it are those cats. Okay. They definitely are a source of joy for me. They're a source of joy for me. There's nothing quite like a cat purr. For the last, 10 minutes of the discussion that we had about loss, one of my cats had come by and trilled at me. And so I scooped her up and she was hooked on my shoulder, literally, because we clipped her claws after that. And I was holding her and she was just purring. So I'm like, I'm petting this purring cat while we're talking about grief, you know? So they are a wonderful source of joy and comfort. So, okay. And this one, she's just like, are you talking about me? No, you were not the cat that I was holding last night. But, so, make room for joy. All right. The rest of these suggestions are basic. Self-care. Very, very important. If you're going to live a life of service, it is important that you care for yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. I'm going to remind you of that. So do something to engage your mind and your body, whatever that looks like for you. Drink plenty of water. You saw I brought mine with me today. Hydration is super important. Your brain works better, your body works better, and your skin looks better when you are well hydrated. Yes, I will appeal to your vanity to get you to drink water. And get that early in your day bright light. Sunlight is best. It's like if you can get 5 to 10 minutes of sunlight right after you get up, it will help to reset those circadian rhythms. If, however, like you get up today and it's raining, and so there is no sunlight, artificial light will work too. All right. 5 to 10 minutes. That's all it takes to reset that circadian rhythm. And if the light in your house is not enough, then I'm going to remind you, you can Google sun lamp or seasonal effect disorder lights. They shouldn't be expensive, but they can be very helpful. Okay. All right. Yep. And then, so that leaves me with my last suggestion, which is Ernest Holmes' quote, open the windows of your soul, allow the breath of heaven to remind you that you do live in heaven right here, right now. It's kind of ironic that I have my windows open. Yeah, I know it's February. But that's when I say that quote, that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of when I open those windows and I get that, just that little breeze across my arms, that kind of gentle, cool breeze across my arms. That's what that quote reminds me of. But what that quote tells me is 2 things. One, it's all God. It's all God. Everywhere I look, everything. Because in the end, we're all made of the same molecules, atoms, electrons, photons. Okay? It's all God. It's all God. And I'm willing to accept that. It means that I tend to treat my positions a little bit differently. Because I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's made of God stuff, just like I am. I just have the living spark of God. You have the living spark of God. They're inanimate. Still made of God stuff. All right. It also reminds me that heaven is not a place. Okay. As Ernest Holmes says, it's not a locality. What it is a mindset. It is a state of consciousness. You know how I said that your reaction is who you've taught and your response is who you are? That's part of it. That heavenly mindset, that heavenly consciousness, that thing that in you that recognizes that God is all there is, and that God is all around us all the time, and that we are the living expression of, we are that divine expression of, we are that beloved expression of. You know people in your life who have that heavenly mindset. And it's not that their life is wonderful and great all the time. It's just that when things aren't going great, they know that it won't last and it will get better. Okay? That's kind of that secret. It's like, my life isn't perfect. In fact, there are frequently times that I'm like, what is going on here? But I know that in the end, it'll be okay. And I also know that I have several places to go for help. 1, my spiritual community, and 2, the first place we should always turn, to spirit. All right. So the best way to start to create that mindset, Emma Curtis Hopkins, look for the good and praise it. What I've been saying this month, encouraging you to do, is if you need it first thing in the morning or right before you go to bed, like if you've had a tough day, right before you go to bed, if you want to have good dreams, name 3 things that you're grateful for. Write them down. And don't repeat for at least a week. And if you're up for the challenge, don't repeat for a month. And then post that list somewhere where you can see it. So when you need that pick-me-up that says, hey, you know what? My life's actually pretty good. You got a list. You got a list. And don't be afraid to write small things on it. Like a perfectly folded fitted sheet. That is a blessing in and of itself. Once you learn to fold fitted sheets, that is a good. Look for the good and praise it. Okay? And yes, it's a silly example, but you know I'm right. All right. I'm going to wrap this up. Not that I have anywhere to go. I just want to move back to my couch and snuggle with my cats. So I'm going to remind, I'm going to remind you that we are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark. I'm the Running Rev Ryan on the social medias that I am on. I commend to you all of those. I've been working on this YouTube. I've actually been working on both of the YouTubes. We've been doing these, and with Reverend Jesse, I've been doing snippets with Reverend Jesse so that they're like between 2 minutes and I think the longest one's like 5.5 minutes, so that you can share them. And they're on all 3 of the social medias. They're on YouTube, in their playlists, and they're also on the other 2, Facebook, and so share them, okay? And then what I've been doing is, since I did the back to the basic prayers, and I didn't have any specific goals, I've been moving my closing prayers for the service to my YouTube channel. So if you want to see what I do at the end of the service, or if there was one prayer in particular that you really liked, and you just want that prayer, they're on my YouTube channel, the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. I'm not quite finished with the January ones, but I'll get there. So, and if you ever wonder where these are archived, because if there was like one in particular you really liked, I archived these on the Running Rev Ryan YouTube channel. So feel free to go like and subscribe, because when we upload new videos, it'll notify you. All right. Where was I? Oh, reminding you that if you want to know what's going on with the center, email info@creativelife.org. That'll get you on the constant contact. That way you can get all that information that way, if I don't know what I'm talking about, you'll have the email that will give you the hot links. All right. I am now at the point where I get to encourage you to have a great day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, a magical day, an enchanted day, a wonderful day, an awesome day, an amazing day, a spiritual energy day, a harmonious day, a loving day, a kind day, a compassionate day, a get off the hose day, a dig into your subconscious day, a do your spiritual work day, a take a break day, a catter day, a silly day, a serious day, a good day. And if that's too much pressure, simply have a day. You are enough just as you are. You're a beloved expression of the divine. You're a beloved child of God. You're a brilliant light. You're a divine spark. You are spirit in motion. You are God in action. Or as Reverend Jesse likes to call us, you are a godling. All right? Know the truth of your being. Explore the truth of your being. Create a well-worn path to the source of your own being, and get to know who that knows you to be. Get to know who God knows you to be. All right? Peel back the layers of everything you've been told. Remember the response versus reaction. Get to know who the source knows you to be. Because I can promise you one thing. The person that spirit knows you to be is good. And build from there. All right, beloveds. All right. Reverend David should be on around 5 p.m. with you. I'll be back with you around 9 a.m. And since today is Saturday in 2024, we'll have an amazing service for you right here on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. And if you're watching this on another thing, well, you can go either to the Creative Life Spiritual Center Facebook page or to the YouTube channel to see that Sunday service. All right, beloveds, take care of yourself. Know that you are loved, and I will see you next time.